Welcome to the BS Roll at Night.
At nights.
We're back.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
St. Patrick's Day.
Will be after we release this episode.
Yeah.
So, Aaron Gobrog.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Stain once told us a long time ago in the 90s.
Well, we got a lot to catch you guys up on in the Charmed Ones drama.
Oh, yeah, there was a news article about one of them recently.
Yeah, all three of them. All three of the originals.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, so in December of 2023, Shannon Doherty came out and said that Alyssa Milano basically bullied the writers into writing her off the show. And who came into, what's her name? Holly Marie Combs, the other Charmed one, the one who was Switzerland. She said that it was true. So she's on Shannon. She's on Team Shannon, which was a shocker.
Okay, fair.
And then at, I believe it was MegaCon in February, so literally a month ago, Melissa Alano, her alter ego, Alyssa Milano said that it was not true and she did not have the power to do it. So it continues to be a feud. So tune in next time to the Charmed Ones fan cast and we'll tell you more about it.
She was in the news, Alyssa Milano, about some kind of scam she was running, maybe a GoFundMe or something, I thought.
Fun fact, she is not related to the cookie company.
What?
Pepperidge Farms. She has nothing to do with it. The Milano Cookies has nothing to do with her.
Really?
That's bullshit.
I know.
So, we did celebrate Christmas. I already gave Nick his Christmas gift.
Yeah.
And then I gave Phil a Christmas gift, which was... so the backstory is this was supposed to be for the whole table. Well, then everyone abandoned me, so then it became Phil's gift.
It's ASMR, and I'm going to unwrap this package on live for all three of our listeners.
On live... 3 months later on a podcast. I did wrap it like 7 times, so good luck.
Olaf is on here, and he does not have a head. Is the first thing I'm seeing. Olaf from Frozen. And then I just unwrapped it, and now I have
More wrapping
paper of Olaf that says, I'm Olaf.
Yeah, I did wrap it a couple times.
And he loves warm hugs. They love warm hugs.
You know, let it go.
I hear he gets wet off warm hugs.
Ooh.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Great audio. Oh, what do we got going on here? I hope it's glow sticks. That's the one thing we need is some glow sticks. Bunch of black boxes. Oh, is this like the plane goes down and then they're like open these up?
Yep.
Mystery dice, a full set of dice. Wait, so now all of these are mine?
Yep. Because the table, I was going to give a set to each person in the table.
But Nick's here.
Oh, Nick didn't care.
I got 3 cookbooks.
Yeah, I gave Nick.
I got 3 D&D related cookbooks.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Yeah. So we actually, when we played the very end of our last campaign, we made a couple things from the cookbook.
Those look pretty cool.
So they are alien die.
Ooh.
So they have like little green alien heads in them.
That actually looks cool.
Well, here's a gift for you. Oh,
let's pass them around so we can get close looks at them.
Yeah, if you just check on our
Social
Twitch live stream, you can see it right now.
Maybe on our social media.
Maybe on our social media, I'll post it. It'll be tasteful. It'll just be me laying on the table with dice and crevasses.
And then Tiamat in your crotch.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that actually looks cool. I'm actually surprised by the quality.
Wow. These are mystery dice. So those are clear with little alien heads on them. And then we've got some... I can only really describe this as like some sort of like tropical cocktail. Like a Bahama Breeze type thing. They're kind of red and yellow.
Yeah, that's not as impressive as a set.
Well, I'm sorry. These are a gift that I got from you.
These are like semi-translucent. They look like little tequila sunrise dice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like some sort of like Bahama Breeze, tequila
with like
sunrise.
Like the geode, like when you break the rock open and the geodes have the different colors. It looks like a little bit of that.
We gotta wait for Tim's hot take on these before we open.
Well, I mean,
box number
I've already
3.
said my hot take. I mean, they actually do look kind of cool. When I bought these 100 years ago, I just thought, oh yeah, it would be like blue or yellow, and these are actually kind of cool.
You thought they were just gonna be like generic, like leftover dice.
Yeah, 100% because they were kind of cheap.
A D6 that's just, or a D6 that's literally just all sixes.
That's the mystery. Hey, I'm using my mystery D6. Oh yeah, what's a mystery about it? It rolls only sixes.
Honestly, it'd be kind of fun to like play a one shot using the Mario Party dice. So then you can like choose like the Waluigi where
Right.
you can either get ones, threes, or like an 8.
Right? Ooh, that'd be good.
I just thought these would be cheap like dice, and they're actually pretty.
Ooh.
Ooh.
These are like green. It looks like they're white dice with like green mold on them. Like they've been in a dark.
These
damp
were
basement.
made out of brie, but they gotten a little moldy.
Yeah. With like some yellow gold coloring, kind of giving me like Slytherin vibes, even though I know like
Ooh.
it's like supposed to be white or green and black.
Yeah, these are actually all pretty. I'm very surprised.
I like these. These are nice. These are nice.
Very nice. We have one more set left.
One more set. This is the last one. This is probably gonna be the worst one. Too. It's
Probably.
just gonna be all six. Well, honestly,
They're literally just white with black letterings.
no, they're actually just black with black leather.
Oh.
You're like, I don't even know what I rolled.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
the,
not even like carved in. It's just flat.
Yeah.
the D20 looks really cool on that set.
I didn't even look at it.
It has the
Which one is the D20 again?
Third one up from the bottom.
I was joking because I was like pretending like
Third one up from the bottom.
the one with the one with 12 on them.
Yeah, that's it.
Got it.
Well, it does
Figured
have 12 on it, so because it goes up to 20.
It's true.
Hey, this is kind of like the other one, but a little bit more pink. I've been bamboozled. So like one looks like someone's only been smoking for like a couple years, and then this one's been yellowed to where it looks like someone's been smoking for like 30 years with them. No, they're very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Merry
For the
Christmas.
mystery- Where did we get these? From our unofficial sponsor. Please sponsor us.
Mystery dice.
Mystery Dice, a full set of dice. You can go to
They did have different tiers on it
some
too.
sort of
did.
website and get some sort of tier. Well, I hope you got bottom tier.
This was bottom tier.
Hell yeah.
There was like I think those for $7 a box or something.
$7. I mean, that's a good chunk for dice. I don't even have my dice bag with me.
But that's like generic dice. I would think would be $7. These are pretty,
Yeah.
but their higher tier is like $15 a box.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie though, if it's like a very stressful like situation, I don't know how like great I would love to look at like a semi-transparent alien head where it's like, all right, time to roll your death saving throws. I don't know what it is.
It's just staring at me.
Yeah, just staring at me.
Yeah. So Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Since the table has abandoned me, you get all the dice sets.
Yay! But Nick's here though.
I got books.
Yeah, I gave him a separate gift.
He gave me a separate gift that he also reaps the benefits of because anytime I'm going to cook something out of it, Tim's going to be there.
Do you have you made anything out of the
So
D&D
we made
cookbooks?
it was kind of like a dwarven style drink. So it used like brandy and wine and orange zest and cinnamon and orange juice to kind of you boil it all together a little bit to make a
You
drink.
boil it and mash it and put it in stew.
Yep.
Nice.
And then we did the other one was pretty easy. I mean, it was a pretty standard recipe, but it was just brats and sauerkraut with a little bit of a twist to it. But
What was
we-
the twist?
A gun.
a gun. The twist was I boil the brats in beer.
Oh, right.
Is that like what they told you to do,
Yeah.
or is it just something?
So some of the recipes are very like they give it a D&D-esque name, but it's
A hamburger.
a hamburger.
this is like getting butter beer from.
But there are other
it's just
recipes in
cream
there,
soda.
like they have like hand pies, which are like almost like a chicken pot pie,
Yeah.
but I think it used boar meat, like actual boar meat in it, and you turn it into more like a calzone style instead of like an actual like pie dish thing.
Yeah.
So I like going through, and there's 3 books, and there's tons of recipes in there. So we'll for sure keep going through and doing some more stuff in it.
I'm just throwing this out here, and I think it's probably partially the alien dice set. But think about this: in Mexico, they have empanadas. In Asian cultures, they have pot stickers or dumplings. And in Italy, they have calzones, which are all basically kind of the same thing, like things inside of a fried dough or a baked dough or something like that.
Yeah.
In St. Louis, we have toasted ravioli.
And we have toasted raviolis. So we are site zero for the aliens.
Yep.
So
100%.
I just thought that, separated by oceans and all this stuff, but yet
Still
similar
making things
thing.
very similar.
Have you ever heard the legend of the toasted ravioli?
No, but I've heard a couple ones. I've heard ones where someone like accidentally dropped it in a fryer.
100%.
I'm
That's
don't
it.
accidentally drop it in a fryer. Like, that's how you like lose an arm. Like, that's negligence.
Yeah, it was some restaurant on the hill who was like a second generation and from Italy, Italian.
From Italy.
from
My Italian, and they dropped a ravioli in the deep fryer, and
Do they accidentally drop it in some breading first and then into a deep
well,
fryer?
a ravioli is already breaded, so if you deep fry it,
Well, it's pasta, but you get like the extra.
Yeah, it's not
Something.
It's not breaded. It's
an actual
pasta.
ravioli.
Yeah, it's not breaded.
Well, stick it in the deep fryer and see what happens.
Well, that's true. I mean, this is a perfect day. It is 314 day.
Yeah.
So
Pie
it is
Pie day.
Pi Day, but in St. Louis, it's our area code. So we take pride. We don't care about math. We care about toasted ravioli and
Hell yeah.
Provel cheese and pork steaks and
Ooh, yeah.
all.
Red
Gooey
hot
butter
If you're
flakes,
still
gooey
listening
butter
to us
cake.
Seattle people that I've never talked to or interacted with,
They're probably not listening anymore.
it's all right. You're gonna come back and we're gonna.
I'm pretty sure they stopped listening after Valerie told them all off the first time around.
Well, welcome back. I've been there. I love throwing fish. So
What does that have to do with Seattle?
the market, the like Pike's Market or whatever.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, they like throw the fish across.
It's like a famous thing where they like.
That's in Seattle?
Yeah, they wear like the like waiters and they're like just throwing fish around this market and people are like, "Oh, this is cool. It's always raining here."
I only know like 3 things of Seattle. The tower thing,
Space Needle.
the
Space
rain,
Needle, the rain. So
the
that's
Seahawks,
the Microsoft is their headquarters
The
there.
Microsoft.
the Microsoft.
Bill Gates lives there, and that's about all I know. That's all of my Seattle facts.
Well, there's the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, and the Kraken, no, the NHL team.
Oh yeah, that's
I
true.
hate their logo. Everyone's like, their logo's cool with that red eye. And I'm like, no, that S has a pink eye. Like, it's like someone tried to draw a really cool S and then gave it pink eye.
It's the bad Trogdor.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of, but like it's not even Trogdor. Like if it were like a actual like dragon-esque thing, but like they should have made it like
it's a Kraken.
exactly. It should have been like some sort of octopus thing. I
Yep.
don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted to incorporate, I guess, the S for Seattle.
I don't
Then they
get
should
it.
have been the Satyrs.
Well, I mean, you don't have to put the S in your logo like the Blues. There's no B in the logo.
No, but it's a blue note.
Yeah, from the Blues.
Yeah, I don't know. It's silly. I don't even know our tangent. You know what, Seattle people, please come back. Tim will learn more about it, and we'll post sweet, sweet pictures of the dice. Actually, you know what? I could put these on my crotch, and they would probably magnify it.
Oh. Well, I think those are supposed to go up your butt.
Oh.
Yeah, those are anal beads. I don't know if I specified.
Man, that would be wild if I just opened it and they were all just on a
Just
stick.
connected.
They're on a string. Nice.
Hey, you want to see my D&D anal beads?
I'm sure that's a thing. I 100% believe that's a thing.
But you can just tell how deep in you are by the shape of the die as it goes in.
I rolled a natural one.
Oh, all right. Well, all right.
Starting off strong.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. We don't know how to interact with people.
That's why we do a
Yeah,
podcast.
so we have a podcast where we talk primarily about D&D. Well,
Do
tonight
Do we?
from what the people have heard from us, we primarily talk about D&D.
Do we?
All right, maybe not. Well, tonight we're not going to talk about D&D. Well, even though we're not talking about D&D, we probably will talk about D&D.
Well, we already did a little bit, too.
But we're going to talk about Pathfinder.
Yeah.
We're finding our path.
We're finding our path. And
Wow, that's a great segue into us figuring out what we're doing in the future.
yeah. So tune in to later in the episode when we talk about how sad we are and we want to play D&D again.
If you just hear silence and like the dripping of water, we're just crying.
It's true.
Or the tornado has ripped the roof off.
That too.
Currently, there are crazy thunderstorms that are happening. I shouldn't say crazy thunderstorms.
Dude, hail like the size of an extra large golf ball
hit St. Peter's.
hit St. Peter's. Like people's
Newfoundland.
windows were shattered on their car.
Okay, for me, like mine was like I don't even have anything to like.
Like a D20?
No, it was tiny, but like I'm not about to like drive on the highway with hail
No, agreed.
Yeah.
raining
that
down
sucks.
upon me. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna stop for a couple minutes. But
100%. So we're talking about Pathfinder.
I'm not gonna lie, I blew all my load on the whole Shannon Doherty thing. Oh wow, those are giant.
We're looking at the hail that hit our friend and
I'm gonna hold up the phone to the microphone, like you can see it, and I'm holding it like you and I are standing next to each other, looking at the hail. And now I'm pointing at it, so I hope you really appreciate this pantomime that I'm doing.
yeah, they were a little bit bigger than a golf ball.
Yeah, well, some of them, the majority of them look like they're.
I would say
maybe about the size of a D20 up to like that size.
Yeah, mine was
Some of
more
those were
like
a small tomato.
like pea-sized hail, but
still-
once again, not going 60.
Right.
I'm not going the speed limit. Wink, wink. If you're listening, St. Louis Police Department.
Avid listeners of the
Have
BS
it
roll.
listed on the VS roll.
It would just be the FBI agent that's been listening
Yeah.
from the beginning.
It's true.
But we see you standing behind the curtain down here, so you're not really hidden. Driving the speed limit, not going to get hit by hail. So, yeah.
100%.
But Pathfinder,
Pathfinder.
Pathfinder.
a little bit about the origin of Pathfinder.
We have mentioned before, but we'll refresh you guys.
Well, basically, 3.5 came out, and people are like, this is great. We love it. And the, wizards at the, coastline were like, let's just completely change everything about it and make it more combat oriented and release 4.0. And the people of Pathfinder
And a lot of people.
was like Pazzo, I think is the name of the company. They're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. So they created Pathfinder. It was publicly tested in 07 and 08. And then it was released in 2009. They released it basically in like compatibility with the open gaming license, which was pretty cool because they actually helped write it. So like their idea was like, all right, we want to make a game that can basically be backwards compatible with D&D, and we want to make sure it's open to everyone. So they kind of had like, I don't know, it was people from the community were like, all right, we're gonna make it better because 4 sucks.
Yeah, the nickname I have here is D&D version 3.75. They were calling it. Was Pathfinder. And they kind of tweaked a few things here and there, but it plays almost like 3.5 from what I've seen.
Yeah, I was gonna say one thing is like, I think, a lot of the comparisons that people are like, well, D&D is kind of easy to like make a character because you can kind of pull like a cookie cutter type sheet, have all the stats, whereas like Pathfinder is more like, backstory, like creating more origin, focusing more on feats. So instead of like increasing your ability scores,
And not the ones at the end of your leg, but
yeah.
like...
Well, I'm the resident feet guy, so if I don't say feet at least 3 times an episode, we'll lose our sponsorship from feetfinder.com. Feet Wikipedia, I don't know.
Wiki feed.
Feetopedia.
Wiki feet. I knew it was something like that, but I'm just pretending like I didn't.
Not a foot guy. I will definitively say that I'm not a foot guy.
I'm not a foot guy, and Rachel, I really hope you're not listening to this, but I don't know. She absolutely hates feet.
So does Ashley.
And like I always ask if she'll like hold feet with me because there was like this meme where it was like people
With the
interlocking their
toes.
toes. And it's like this is like a whole thing. And so anytime like she's got her feet like not in socks, I like go in for a strike, and it's so annoying. And then she goes and she'll hold feet with the dogs, and I'm like, that's not cool.
Right? It's rude.
But yeah, so Pathfinder, more so like in D&D, when you level up, you have basically you can increase like your ability score modifier as you go. Whereas Pathfinder's more like every few levels you get a new feat. So you can kind of add to like what kind of specials that your character can do.
Pathfinder also assigns individual proficiencies to each capability,
Yep.
adding between 2 and 8 to the result of the die roll.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that like me looking up at some stuff for Pathfinder is there's the way you build your character is so much more detailed, and it's hard to find like two people could start off at the same general footing, and by the time that you're in ending level cap area, like your characters could be completely different from the way you kind of build up as you level up and everything, based on the feats that you take and other stuff that you can do with different mechanics. It was used to be more like much more in depth in how you build your character and what purpose they really serve.
So not only do you have individual proficiencies to each capability, it also gains rank separately.
Yep.
So where D&D is a base, like you have a 3 proficiency and that's it, each one of your capabilities have their own proficiency, which would just be wild to track.
Right.
Well, then you have like your knowledge in like Arcana. You've got your knowledge in Dungeoneering, your knowledge in Engineering, or did I just say Dungeoneering, Engineering, Geography? It's like different knowledge bases. So like literally those scores that you're tracking is like, all right, cool. Well, now I'm going to have a different score for my knowledge on religion, or I'm going to have a different score for my knowledge on like nobility. So like if you've ever looked at a Pathfinder like character sheet, like a D&D like character sheet, like it's, like I would say like an 8x11, pretty normal. You can fit majority on there.
It is the size of a regular piece of paper.
And it's not overwhelming, but like it's like filling out tax forms if you've ever done like a Pathfinder. Like, I think it's probably for the skills, like, trees, you basically have, like, 30 different, like, ones that you can choose from. Like, for your, all the way from acrobatics to, like, you're using magical dice capabilities.
Right.
So it's just, like, insane, like, how much thought you have to go into it. And then on top of that, every few levels, then you're like, all right, cool, well, now you have a new feat. So then you're adding to like what you can do. So then you have to track that, and then like your backstory, your religion, your ethics, and stuff like that. Like it's much more like it leans very heavy into the role play, which obviously was lacking in Dungeons and Dragons 4.0. So you can see that they took a very, very hard 180 degrees when that released.
I think in like with 4th edition and Pathfinder, they brought down, like they both have very high points in specialization and creating very different characters, but I think 4th edition was more about the combat, and then Pathfinder is a little bit more about some RP stuff that goes with your things, which is kind of what I guess 3.5 people really loved, and they got rid of in 4th edition. But yeah, which on a DM point, I mean, that's got to make it really difficult to come through and set up like stuff that I looked at. It's like it's a lot more intensive for a DM to come up with an encounter, how it's going to play out, how you're going to be playing against your characters, and then also still trying to help your characters do what they need to do, because there's so much more that people do. Like,
for example, advantage and disadvantage. And what I have here is Pathfinder uses the classic method of determining whether outside factors affect a character's action, so whether you would have advantage or disadvantage. However, favorable conditions add to the die result, and unfavorable ones subtract from it. So, for example, this is an example I have. A character climbing a cliff face might get a +4 bonus from a magical item designed specifically for the purpose, but a -2 penalty because the rocks are slippery.
Oh my gosh.
Absent any other modifiers or skills, the player would get a +2 to the roll.
A lot more math.
Right?
Which, Tim, you talked about, like, you're like, I thought about doing Pathfinder. If we did Pathfinder, you'd be on a fucking calculator the whole fucking time. You'd be like,
So not only having players like, all right, I'm going to have you climb this rock face, but now it's raining, so now you need to take stuff away. And what's their modifier? And then I'm taking this away. And then what did you roll? Like, just give them disadvantage.
Right. Especially 5th edition, they took it way back to a cookie cutter, easy to do, because 4th edition got just as detailed as Pathfinder and how much stuff is going on and things like that. But I know the actual way that things played were very different. But yeah.
I did look at Pathfinder one time, and I'm like, this looks like taxes. No, thank you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, when you look at the character sheet, it's like literally filling out your taxes. But, they do take, once again, like the core classes from D&D, and, like, we've seen a lot of it, like, bleed over into more of, like, the more, like, Critical Role and some of the, like, Dimension 20. Like, they've pulled some of the classes from Pathfinder and kind of modified them and started bringing them over to 5e because they were so good. I think probably the most notable would be the Gunslinger, which was originally in Pathfinder, but it was introduced into Critical Role first campaign with Percy. But there's the Alchemist, there's the Cavalier, the Gunslinger, Inquisitor, the Magus, the Amdura, Oracle, a Shifter, Summoner, a Witch, Vampire Hunter, Vigilante. So it's like I think they kind of like carved the way for some of these new kind of hybrid classes that have been introduced into 5e in the last like 5 years, or probably more like 7 years. But people have molded those to, now guns are becoming more prevalent in a lot of campaigns, and it's just interesting because that didn't really happen until, mainstream D&D podcast, like the BS role, brought the gunslinger over.
Yeah, you can definitely blame Critical Role for that. Because Critical Role, when they were playing at home, was playing Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they switched over to D&D.
Because I think, once again, that is more mainstream and easier for people to kind of follow. And, like, obviously there was a lot of, like, collaboration with Wizards of the Coast, like, on source books. Like, their original intentions weren't to monetize it. They're all voice actors, and they're all like, oh, okay, this is gaining traction. Like, let's make something of this. And, they needed something that was more palatable. And so they're like, okay, cool, well, we're going to move over to the 5e system, but Percy's pretty cool, so we're going to bring that over. Yep. And I think that's what, like, kind of set Matt Mercer on, like, this path of being, like, the ultimate DM or game master, or however you want to phrase it, is because of the very detail-oriented Pathfinder made him bleed over into D&D, and it's like, all right, well, now everything has to be described to perfection, and it's pretty wild. Nick, you're scrolling over there like a wild man. What's going on?
I know. I'm looking at
closing all your apps.
Yeah, I'm looking at Pathfinders, like a PDF of Pathfinders. There's a note in the table of contents that is wind effects, and it's on fucking page 433.
Jesus.
You know what's funny is I can't remember what we were talking about. It had to have been maybe 4th edition, or maybe it was 3rd edition, but you brought up climbing, and then you just brought up climbing again, so now we know you've got a weird role-playing climbing thing.
Which I don't think I made any of my campaign climb at all, ever.
You just like to do it, and you're sicko talking about it in this podcast at nights.
At nights. I mean, that's going to be the whole next campaign is going to be climbing.
It's like a weird, like, water world, but instead it's climbing world, and, like, the whole entire world, basically, because we all know that the Earth is flat, it basically tilts on its axis 90 degrees, and so the world just basically becomes like, because the South Pole becomes the magnetic force, gravitate. Well, gravity's a myth, so are birds. And so then everyone's basically climbing, and like their goal is, if the entirety, enough people can climb to the top of the world, it'll tip back over.
I mean, I was going to make it way less complicated and say the oceans were drained, so then you just have natural like mountains and stuff.
Yeah, but think about how wild that'd be. Is like the whole like thing is like you just got to get enough people over to teeter totter it over.
So I found the table.
You found the table.
And his phone died.
Table 13-11 wind effects. Wind force, light, moderate, strong, severe, windstorm, hurricane, tornadoes.
Uh-huh.
They all have a wind speed. So light is 0 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 50, 51 to 74, 75 to 174, 175 to 300 miles per hour. So at a strong wind, range attack, like normal range attacks, get a -2 modifier in strong storms. In severe, it's a -4. In windstorms, hurricanes, and tornadoes, it's impossible for ranged attacks. Then they have also for siege weapons, which you get a -4 starting with windstorms, so you're looking at 51 to 74 miles per hour. Checked size. So check size. Creatures of this size or smaller are unable to move forward against the force of the wind unless they succeed on a DC 10 strength check if on the ground, or DC 20 flying skill check if airborne. So in a strong wind speed or strong wind force of 21 to 30 miles an hour, if you are a tiny creature, you have to make a DC check to walk against the wind. If you're small, you have to do it again severe, medium in a windstorm, large in a hurricane, huge in a tornado. Blown away size, so
Now you're talking.
creatures on the ground are knocked prone and roll a 1d4 times 10 feet, taking 1d4 damage of non-lethal damage per 10 feet unless they make a DC 15 strength check. So that's just 1 degree higher for all the sizes. I guess if you're huge, you don't have to fucking ever worry about getting blown away, even in a hurricane or a tornado. But then your fly penalty starts at a strong wind. You get a -2 fly penalty in strong winds, a -4 in severe, 8 in windstorms, -12 in hurricane, and -16 in a tornado. So they have negative modifiers based on size, and if you're on the ground or in the air.
To be fair, 5e does have some of that stuff, like the age modifier and like
True.
encumbrance is a thing.
How many times do, like, okay.
That's the thing. A lot of DMs is like, fuck that.
In all the books that I've gone through and looked at, I haven't seen much where they're like, this weather is going to hinder you. And you don't really see many tables where it's like, oh, hey, this is the weather that you're going to run into and they're going to have problems. Now,
That's true.
To note, Michael did say in Tomb of Annihilation, there is weather stuff, and there will be times where we might have severe rain downfall, and we won't be able to get any travel done.
See, those kind of systems bug me because it's like, all right, we're just going to not do anything this session.
Well, I mean...
You know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff bothers me.
I told... Well, and I mean, like, it would be... I doubt we'd spend a whole session where it's like, oh, this is just a potential downpour and we can't move anywhere. I guess we'll just sit here and wait out the rain for 5 hours.
It'll be like you lose a day.
Yeah.
But the issue with that kind of system, and you see that in Critical Role Campaign 2, the latter half of that became a snore fest because it was like a D20 table, and if it was like a severe snowstorm, they lost a couple days. Well, then they kept rolling shitty, so it took them like 20 episodes to get to their final goal because they kept like moving forward a couple, to their destination and then getting pushed back and losing days, and it just became a bore.
That's why, like, I told Michael, I was like, I mean, honestly, because we ran something along that with Out of the Abyss.
Yeah.
So the first part of the campaign, spoilers, of Out of the Abyss, you roll
I'm going to cover your ears, so I'm pretending like you're a person,
Yeah.
so I'm ear muffing you right now.
If you roll on a D20 for every day, and you are supposed to have like at least twice a day, you have encounters, like potential encounters, and he would roll a D20, and based on what it was, the only time that no events happened is if you rolled a 1. Every other number there were events, which made the very beginning of the campaign such a fucking like slugfest trying to get through because we'd get, and I mean, I was like, some of them were kind of cool, just like little interesting things, a couple combats, and I was like, as a good DM, you find your ways to make it to where you're not sitting here doing the same thing. But we spent a lot of time at the very beginning, especially because Michael was first learning to DM, so he was going hardcore by the book, and I was like, dude, you gotta stop that. I was like, you gotta find better ways. It's one thing if we have a couple encounters, and I get for the hardcore D&Ders who want to go through and actually do this, like, cool, but you're also going to take, I don't know, like fucking 8 years to complete one campaign. But I was like, to have something like an actual table for wind and be like, here's all your negative modifiers or what you have to deal with if you're in this situation.
It's just too much to keep track of as a DM.
Right.
Well, so the trick is, this is how you can beat any system. You just have...
Flip the table?
Exactly. You have 4 monks that are all a different type of genasi. So then you've got an air genasi, can get through the air. You got a water genasi, get through the water and the rain. Fire genasi, just because you got to have a glass cannon, and then an earth genasi. So, boom.
Or just be 4 druids.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's just I wanted to have power genasi.
No, you're 4 druids of the Circle of the Moon that are level 10, and then you can transform into elementals.
There you go. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, you're going to throw wind at me, I'm going to just become a Way of the Wind monk, and then you can't get me. I got to...
when do you wild shape as a druid? I feel like that's
level
pretty...
2.
Yeah, level 2. It's
you get wild shape at level
early.
2. Honestly, if you go the other routes, your wild shapes really aren't all that great. I think you might cap out at like a CR rating of 1 as a druid if you're not Way of the Circle, but you can cap out at a CR rating of 6 at level 18 if you are Circle of the Moon.
There's the Circle of Wildfire. That one's pretty wild because you get like a fire element, like not a fire elemental.
Some other ones you might be able to get something very specific that's very related to yours, but Circle of the Moon's wild shapes in general.
Yeah.
And then another thing I saw for that too, looking at my druid that I'm playing, at level 18, your magical prowess allows you to age slower. So for you to age 1 year as your race, it takes 10 years. So if you like, I'm a Furbolg, so I can live up to like 500 years. I'm like, oh dude, I hit level 18 when I'm like 130. Like I'm fucking gonna be here for a couple centuries.
I mean, that's what happened with Keyleth. She is an elf.
I thought she was a Ganassi.
No, she's an Arashari, but she's an elf.
That's what it was. Okay,
she's either full elf or half elf, but she can take the ability, the ageless, whatever it's called. So
yeah, she'll never die unless she gets killed.
Right.
Which spoilers? No, I'm just kidding.
I haven't watched since like episode 65, and I know that she was badly damaged.
I'm still in season 1.
I'm a couple weeks behind, but
I kind of lost interest.
I get it.
Yeah.
How do you like our episode about Pathfinder where we're talking about D&D?
I mean, there's not much else to say, in my opinion, about Pathfinder. If you listen to our 3.5 conversation, just add more shit to it.
Just replace 3.5 with Pathfinder, and that's what you've got.
I mean, just add more shit to it.
Wait. So here's another important thing. Do they have turn sticks into snakes in Pathfinder?
All right, I got actually a wild story to tell you today. So... the weather's been up and down, so when the weather's up and down, woodland creatures like to find their way into places they're not supposed to. So I'm holding a pen at my desk down in our basement, and it's a city house, so critters get in. So I'm like kind of like flipping the pen. Well, I drop the pen, look down, don't know where the pen's at, but there's a little tiny baby snake.
Was it a copperhead?
No, it wasn't a copperhead, but I was just like, oh my God, I turned this pen into
a snake.
And that was literally today. And I was just like, oh my God, I have to tell them about it. And I forgot about it because of the hail. And I'm just like, I turned pen into a snake.
So you're a cleric?
I'm a cleric. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like playing my cleric. Now that he's level 17, he has the supreme healing, so I don't roll dice anymore, basically.
Just max heal.
Yeah, max heal.
Now, are you saying max heal or are you saying mac seal?
Neither.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of it for Pathfinder. Honestly, that's all I've seen is just adding on the 3.5 and changing some modifiers and proficiencies and adding a whole bunch of other stuff like wind force.
Oh, there was another one that I saw that's a little bit different. So, like D&D, you have a bonus action. Most people don't really use it that often, unless you have like 2-weapon fighting. Rogues specifically use a lot of stuff. Maybe some clerics. They have a good number of bonus actions, just to give them a little bit extra prowess in the way of healing with bonus heals, regular heals, all kinds of stuff.
I mean, they're dog shit, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is a bonus action. But in Pathfinder, you actually, like, most people will use their bonus action in Pathfinder. Like, it's very common to have things that are relevant to make it worthwhile to use, where I think D&D kind of lost out on that.
Yeah, because I mean, I think you have in Pathfinder you have 3 actions, 1 reaction, and then like a variable number of free actions. So like it's more of like theater of the mind, where you're like, if you can describe some of these free actions, like it may not necessarily take away from like the combat side of things,
Right.
or like you can climb up these stairs and do this, and then like fire your weapon or do so. Like
Another one is not everyone gets attack of opportunities in Pathfinder, which I think also it adds a little bit more of a strategy. I mean, just building your character alone with all your feats and everything, it's more strategic on how you want to do stuff. Well, if you do it right, you could have more.
that's enough for me.
It did seem like Pathfinder had a lot more feats to choose from based on like your class and your heritage even.
Yeah, I mean, you get one every few levels, so it's just like you can stack them.
Whereas D&D, even with all the source books, there's not a whole lot of feats to pick from.
No.
And you only get like maybe 2 or 3 even at max level.
I think
Maybe 4.
fighters get the most just because they don't have like the overpowering magical powers or shape changing or incredibly powerful like damage attacks. So I think a fighter gets like 6 or maybe 7 times where they get an ability score increase or a feat, but that's the most. Most other ones get like 4 or 5. Like it's almost set to a standard of like every 4 levels, you get an ability score or a feat, and then you get one at 19.
Yep.
Right before you hit 20, where fighters get a few extra ones in there as well.
Yeah, I haven't really mapped out the fighter I'm playing in the new campaign yet.
I've already built my druid to level 20.
I love doing that, like going through and be like, all right, well, what way do I want to go? And then like you get hit with something in the campaign, and you're just like, well, I'm not doing this anymore.
I mean, 100%.
That's what happened with my cleric. I was going to multi-class into a bard, but then he like went unconscious, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to play it where he wants more healing now because he went unconscious.
Yeah.
And he's not a fighter boy. Like, he was brought on board and was doing the king. That's the whole backstory.
You guys have told me, you've
Canon.
alluded to the
Yeah.
the king banger.
Yep.
So I just played him. I RP'd that. Like, all right, he wants to be more healing because he went down, and then we.
Oh, he definitely went more down.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And now I went the complete opposite direction. And you'll appreciate this, Phil. I went fighter boy because I didn't want to deal with spells, but I'm bringing Renfrey into this campaign.
So is it Renfrey?
Yep.
It's
Love
Renfrey.
Are you going to keep the same voice?
Yeah, 100%.
Love it.
Leroy Jenkins.
Very much that energy. Not the PTSD Renfrey in the campaign.
Aw, man. I like that one more. Hi, guys. It's like the Snuffleupagus. Or no, Eeyore. Hi, guys.
Well, it finally bit him in my campaign. So we'll see what happens with this campaign. But I'm going to play him with all that energy and gusto and, say his full name every time he introduces himself.
Yeah, I love bringing like NPCs that I've used in the past like into them and then like leveling them down, and then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna take some of these traumas and bring it in. So like I've had that where I've like played like one of my NPCs, which really was obnoxious. But Ryan, so like when they introduced themselves as Teb, Teb, and Ryan, being Ryan, was like, "Oh, is it short for Tebra?" And I'm like, "It was short for Tabora," and like I didn't tell him that in it, and I was just like so annoyed. I'm just like, "Yep, these are the past traumas that I'm going to bring into other campaigns." Where I'm like, they called me the wrong name. I can't do this. I can't do this.
Hilarious.
I know we're like kind of going off the track of Pathfinder, but a cool thing that I saw is so it was released in 2009, and from 2011 to 2014, it actually outsold D&D as like a game, which is crazy, which I think is part of the reason why they did a flip back to 5e, which was released in I think 2016. So it was like all the failure. It was like, all right, we're doing it wrong. We got to do it right. So that was just kind of a fun Pathfinder.
Ooh, here's something I just saw for Pathfinder. So D&D, as you level up, your experience required is more.
Yeah.
Pathfinder, it's 1,000 XP per level. That's it, all the way through.
It sounds more like a milestone. Like that's the way you would play Pathfinder.
That's the way.
When you start,
I
D&D, you can do milestone
or XP.
But if you do the XP, I mean, like it's a grind to really, really get up there. Where I guess Pathfinder does make it a little bit easier to level. I don't know. Do you know what the level cap is for Pathfinder?
I'm not 100% sure because I think 2019 they released the second edition of it. I think that extended it. Oh, spoilers! Roll it back.
Well, I mean, because
Tim, you were gonna say something.
D&D got in hot water. Wizards of the Coast got in hot water for their open gaming license, and everyone lost their shit about that. And then they recounted, and then people were like pissed off about it. So then the Pathfinder people were like, "Huh, this is history repeating itself. So we're going to release our second edition."
But that had to have been probably in the works already. No, it wasn't?
No, they started it when that went down, and I think it's just now releasing.
Oh, well, then it wasn't 2019. I'm a liar. I don't know why that number. Probably because it released in 2009.
I mean, I want to say when the open gaming license happened, it was like 21 or 22 when all that shit went down.
Oh, that was like last year. That was recent.
Yeah.
Last year was 2023.
Yes.
Yes.
We knew what you meant, though.
I didn't do it wrong.
I did it wrong.
Yeah, don't look at me like I did it wrong, Nick. How dare you?
We know what you meant, though.
Yeah, Tim.
Double check the date on when.
I don't care. It's fine. I trust you.
I thought it was a while ago because time is weird.
Well, just remember that you have to believe everything that's on the internet. This podcast is on the internet. Therefore, everything we say is fact.
Quoted by Abe Lincoln.
Quoted by Abe Lincoln, the party of Trump.
Speaking of which, so going down the Facebook Facebook video hole, I run across a lot of the ones that are like, oh, here's a cool D&D idea. So this town elects a Blinkhound as their new mayor. The dog's name is Abraham Blinken, and he wears the big old top hat, and he'll blink away and then return with new decrees and does crazy things like all cats have to leave this city, which goes for like the tabaxi and things like that. And so people in the village or city or whatever are like, hey, send your party to figure out where he's going. We'll come to find out it's some demigod that's obsessed with dogs and has placed dogs strategically in government positions all across the place, and the party has to decide if they're going to actually help this demigod, stop him, or find a happy medium. And I was like, oh.
Pathfinder 2E did come out in August of 2019. I think I was referring to...
Oh, what year was that again? Let's hear it again.
2019.
Oh, wow.
But I remember something about Pathfinder 2E doing something when the D&D...
Well, they helped write the original OGL, so I'm pretty sure probably you just heard about it because they were back at it again with some OGL. They're the OGL OGs.
The OGL?
Mm-hmm.
OG.
The Oglegog.
I just remember that being in the news and like it was on sale. I don't remember. I just remember hearing a lot about Pathfinder 2e when the D&D 5e OGL thing came out.
Yeah, when the Grumps stole Christmas.
Yeah, and then has Wizards of the Coast like backpedaled, and then people are still pissed about it, and now they're doing D&D 1, which we've talked about before, and they've recounted that, where it's now just 5.5, but no one knows what that means. And
is this like an attempt of like, is this dragon actually just like a fidget spinner?
Yes.
I mean, I think we have a fidget spinner in every color of Tiamat. So
Love it.
I think that's all we have for Pathfinder.
Yeah, I think next week I'm calling an audible here. I think we should talk about Daggerheart, the new gaming system by the Critical Role peeps.
I know nothing about it.
Well, you're going to learn about it.
I'll do some research.
Yeah, I mean it's just a new system. It's an open beta right now, so I figured, since we have, such avid listeners here, there's a lot of crossover from Critical Role, at least 33% of our listeners probably know what Critical Role is.
I mean, 100% of our speakers do.
Yeah, well, I was like joking like the 33% as in me, and then you it's like 33, 33, 33, and then my mom.
I'm confused.
So we're all 11% of the listeners. The three of us are 11% of our listeners.
Sure.
I can't do math.
I just did it for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, Tim has left the table, and he is going to get his enormous calculator.
It's literally the size of a table.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make my new D&D table a calculator.
We'll just get you the
abacus.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. It's already bad enough. I'm like, what did you roll? As I'm typing in numbers.
So next week we might talk about Daggerheart, or we might not talk about it. The other idea would be talk about the crazy D&D videos that we find on the internet.
Yeah, dude.
And so that might actually be what it is, because that was my other idea after Nick said it.
Or we find another player and we get back to
Or we find another player. So if you're not
want
in
to
the greater...
subscribe to a player and automatically be moved to our platinum level Patreon, just email us.
And by Patreon, you literally just get to put your hand in my pocket.
Ooh.
No, he gets to hold your pocket.
Sure.
Like in prison.
Sure, that's fine.
Ew. That's all we have. Love you, bye.
Bye.